We are on lesson 3, which is dividing rational numbers. This is very similar to our last lesson, except instead of multiplying, we're going to be dividing. We're going to be dividing fractions. We'll be looking at dividing decimals and then evaluating expressions with fractions and decimals. Just a reminder of the positive and negative rules for dividing. When the sign is when they are the same, it's a positive and a positive, or a negative and a negative. You're going to be getting a positive answer. And when the sign is different, you have a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive. That'll give you a negative answer. When we divide fractions, we need to know what a reciprocal is. A reciprocal is like the exchanging of the numerator and the denominator. And when you multiply a number, a fraction, times its reciprocal, it's always going to give you 1. You can even do that with like a positive 5. We have 5 over 1, which is just 5. Multiply that times 1/5, and then that'll give you 1 as well. So any number times its reciprocal, fraction or not, will give you 1. And that's important for this when we divide, because when we divide, we could actually just multiply times the reciprocal, and that'll be the same thing as dividing by this fraction. And that'll make it much easier to solve for us mathematically. So we have 7/5 divided by 4 over 5, 4/5. Always turn the second number into the reciprocal, the one that is dividing into the other number. So for this one, we would do 7 over 15, and then we would multiply 5 over 4, because 5 over 4 is the reciprocal. We switch the numerator and the denominator. And now we can just multiply across. 7 times 5 is 35. 15 times 4 is 60. So we have 35 over 60 for our answer, but remember we need to simplify that. They both can be divided by 5, so 35 divided by 5 is 7. 16 divided by 5 is 12. So 7 over 12 would be our answer for over here. Now we have 5 1/3 divided by -7. Just like we did last time, whenever we have these whole number in a fraction, we need to turn this into a fraction here. So we have 5 times 3, which would be 15, plus 1 would be 16, so 16 over 3. And then this would be divided by -7. Remember, when we do the dividing with fractions, we can multiply times the reciprocal. 1 over 7, or -1 over 7. So we'll put the negative over here by the 7. Alright, so then we can just multiply across now. We have 16 times 1, which would be 16. We have 3 times 7, which would be 21. And remember, this answer is negative. Can we simplify that at all? Well, 21 can be divided by 7 and 3. 16 cannot. 16 can be divided by 4. 21 cannot. So this is as simple as it gets. Remember to always put that negative in there too when you have a negative and a positive. So negative 16 over 21 would be our answer. Now we have dividing decimals. We have 7.48 divided by 0.4. We know that your calculators can do this, but what the book really wants you to do is to get rid of all the decimals in the denominator, or the number that is dividing into the first number. So how to do that is you just move the decimal over 1 to the right. So for here you'd have 0.4, you'd move that decimal over 1 to the right, that gives you positive 4. Whatever you do to this one, though, you have to do to 1 over here as well. So turning this into another problem then would be 74.8 divided by 4. The reason they want you to do that is they want you to kind of think mentally what this is supposed to be. And what I think about is 4 goes into 80 20 times. So it should be about a little bit less than 20 for your answer. So when you divide this, 74.8 divided by 4, I got 18.7. And that sounds about right, because 18.7 is close to 20. So my answer here would be 18.7. No negatives here, so my answer can stay positive. Now this is basically what we've been doing, except we have to do some algebraic plugins here, some expressions. So we have 7.2 divided by n, but now n is negative 0.24. So we've done this before. We need to plug in negative 0.24 for n. So we have 7.2 divided by negative 0.24. Remember what we need to do? We need to get rid of the decimal on the bottom half, or the denominator here. So we have 1, 2, move that over. Same thing over here, 1, 2. So now we have 720. So 720 divided by negative 24. So if I'm going to solve this, I know 24 goes into 100 almost 4 times. 4 times 7 is about 28, so it should be a little more than 28, probably closer to 30. So it lets you do that mental math before you do the division. So there it is. It's actually right on 30. We have a positive and a negative now, so that would be a negative 30 for our answer. We have m divided by 5 over 24, and we know that m is 3 3/4. So we can write this out. We have 3 3/4. I'm just going to use this 3 3/4 divided by 5 over 24. Remember, we need to turn this into a fraction here. We have 3 3/4, so we have 3 times 4, which is 12. Add 3, which would be 15. So we have 15 over 4 divided by 5 over 24. Remember, we need to do multiply times the reciprocal, so that'd be 24 over 5. And here's where we can do the crossing out, the cross division. We can cross out the 4 and the 24 because 4 goes into 24 6 times. So we could write a 6 here, a 1 here. 5 goes into 15 3 times, so we can make that a 3 over here and then a 1 over here. Cross those out. And now we have 3 times 6 would be 18, and that would be 18 over 1, because 1 times 1 is 1, or we could just leave it as 18.